Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we sift through the sources, unpack the details, and really try to get you well informed.
That's the aim.
So imagine this for a second. You're waiting for that package you ordered online. Could be anything, right? A new gadget, maybe some clothes, maybe a part for something you're fixing.
Yeah, that anticipation.
Exactly. You click order, and then almost like magic,
sure.
it shows up. But how? How does it make that incredible journey, sometimes across oceans, continents?
It's easy to take for granted, isn't it?
Totally. What are the layers of complexity behind it? Who are the kind of unseen people, the systems that make global trade actually work, that let that one single item travel the globe to you?
It's a fascinating question.
So today, that's what we're doing. We're taking a deep dive into the really intricate world of shipping and port management. We're going to pull back the curtain on the intermediaries, the infrastructure, the innovations, basically everything that keeps our economies ticking.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that the global shipping industry isn't just one thing. It's this vast, interconnected ecosystem, much more complex than just, a ship sailing from A to B.
Right.
So our mission today is really to shine a light on those essential roles, the processes that make sure cargo gets where it needs to go. We'll look at everything from the agents shuffling paperwork to the specialized containers carrying the goods, even the economics behind freight rates.
So you, the listener, will get a really clear picture of the key players, the mechanisms.
Exactly. Hopefully you'll come away well informed on this absolutely fundamental part of how international commerce actually functions.
And we've got some great material to work with. It's a distilled summary pulled directly from a pretty comprehensive textbook on shipping and port management.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Very focused.
Packed with precise definitions, crucial acronyms, lots of those, and practical procedures. Perfect for getting into the real nuts and bolts of the industry.
Absolutely. Ready to jump in.
Let's do it. Okay, so first up, let's talk about where things begin. When goods start their journey, we need to understand the middlemen, or, as our source calls them, intermediaries.
Right, the facilitators.
These are third parties, and they offer absolutely vital services. They basically bridge the gap between the person selling and the person buying, the trading partners.
Think of them as like expert guides.
Yeah, or orchestrators, making sure all the pieces of a complex global transaction fit together smoothly. Logistics, legal stuff.
Without them, honestly, international trade would probably grind to a halt under its own weight. Bureaucracy overload.
So they're indispensable then?
Oh, completely. Indispensable to the whole system. An intermediary, just by definition, is a third party offering these intermediation services between two trading parties. Simple definition, huge impact.
And how does that fit into the bigger picture?
Well, if you connect it up, they streamline what would otherwise be incredibly complex transactions. They take a huge administrative and logistical load off the shoulders of both the shippers, the people sending the goods, and the carriers, the transport companies.
Right. Imagine trying to handle every single customs form yourself.
Exactly. Every port authority, every different transport provider for every shipment all over the world would be, pretty much impossible for most businesses.
So these specialized roles exist to make it possible.
Precisely. Which, brings us to the obvious question. What specific roles do these different intermediaries actually play? Because it's not just one job title.
That's a great point. And yeah, our source breaks down several key players. Each one has a very distinct, very crucial function. Let's kick things off with maybe the most foundational one. The Customs House Agent, or CHA.
Ah, yes, the CHA. An absolutely pivotal figure. Think of them as a gatekeeper, almost.
Okay.
They are licensed professionals, specifically authorized to act as an agent for any business transaction that relates to the entry or departure of a conveyance.
A conveyance being.
A ship, a plane, a truck, basically, the transport vehicle, whether it's coming in with imports or going out with exports.
And their main job.
Their absolute key responsibility is facilitating the legal passage of goods through customs, making sure all the complex regulations are met, that duties are paid correctly, that all the documentation is absolutely spot on.
So getting that CHA acronym down and knowing their primary function is customs clearance, that's pretty fundamental.
Foundational. If goods don't clear customs, they don't go anywhere.
Makes sense. So they're the border experts. What about shipping agents? That sounds a bit broader.
It is a bit broader. Shipping agents are more like the people on the ground. They handle the day-to-day operational needs for a specific shipping company when its vessel is in port.
Okay, so more hands-on with the ship itself.
Exactly. Their role is to ensure that all the vessel's routine tasks get done quickly, efficiently. Think about things like, well, arranging provisions for the crew, maybe coordinating minor repairs, making sure fuel is arranged.
And dealing with the port.
Oh, definitely. They liaise constantly with the port authorities. Their job is to prevent any delays to the ship's schedule. They are basically the shipping line's local representative, the eyes and ears in that specific port, ensuring everything runs smoothly while the ship is there.
Right. Then there's the clearing agent. Now that sounds quite similar to the CHA, the Customs House agent. Is there a difference?
There is, though it's easy to see the overlap, they're certainly related. But a clearing agent focuses really intensely on a client-specific customs clearance needs for a particular shipment.
So more client-focused than just general customs.
Yes, their tasks are quite detailed. They'll arrange and submit all the required documents at customs for their client. They'll organize and often oversee the customs inspections. And crucially, they review and process the actual duty and VAT payments.
Ah, okay. So they're handling the money side of customs for the client.
Exactly. If you need a clear differentiator, the clearing agent is very hands-on with the financial aspects, the duties, the VAT for that specific client's cargo, ensuring those charges are all calculated correctly, handled properly, and paid on time.
Got it. Okay, and the last one in this group, the freight broker. They sound a bit like matchmakers.
That's actually a perfect way to put it. Freight brokers are responsible for matching authorized, reliable transportation carriers with shippers who have goods that need moving.
So connecting the need with the service.
Precisely. Their main objective is coordinating the shipping needs for different companies. They bring the shippers and the transport companies together. And the goal, always trying to secure the lowest possible shipping costs while still ensuring the highest quality service.
They're constantly comparing options.
Constantly evaluating routes, carrier availability, rates, finding that sweet spot, that optimal match for both efficiency and cost effectiveness. It's a dynamic role.
Okay, so these intermediaries, CHAs, shipping agents, clearing agents, freight brokers, they're clearly absolutely vital for getting goods moving, getting them cleared, matching them up with transport. They handle the maze of paperwork, the logistics.
They make the impossible seem possible, really.
But okay, once the cargo is actually on the vessel, ready to go, who's making sure that ship itself is actually fit for the journey? Safe, compliant, before it even casts off. Right, so a whole different level of scrutiny kicks in once the cargo's loaded and the ship's about to sail.
Yeah.
Our source really highlights the critical role of surveyors. And we're not just talking about people glancing at a map here. These are like the meticulous, highly skilled inspectors of the maritime world. Their job is all about ensuring safety and compliance.
That's exactly right. They are the ultimate quality control for a vessel's voyage.
So what's their main job description?
A surveyor's primary responsibility, fundamentally, is to assess the condition of a vessel and, based on that assessment, determine if it is actually fit to sail.
Fit to sail. That sounds pretty important.
It's not just important, it's paramount. Think about it: safety at sea, preventing environmental disasters, just basic operational efficiency. It all hinges on the vessel being seaworthy.
And it's not just a quick look over.
Oh, definitely not. Their inspection is exhaustive. It goes deep into the vessel's integrity, its functionality. It's incredibly thorough.
Wow. Okay, so what are they actually checking? What areas do they cover?
Pretty much everything critical. Our source lists quite a few. They meticulously check the ship's main engines, all the complex navigation systems, the communication equipment,
Radios, satellite stuff?
all of it. And crucially, all the emergency and safety equipment, lifeboats, fire suppression systems, alarms, making sure everything is present, maintained, and in perfect working order.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Beyond just the operational systems, they also have to be meticulous record keepers. They'll take detailed photos, sometimes videos, of both the interior and exterior condition of the vessel.
Documenting everything.
Exactly. They ensure that all the ship's maintenance records are accurate, complete, and up to date. This confirms that every rule, every procedure for safe operation is actually being followed.
So it's compliance too.
Big time. And they determine the critical load regulations and limits for that specific ship to prevent overloading, ensure stability.
Right, can't have it tipping over.
Precisely. They verify that all the ship's machinery, all the mechanisms are working properly. And then, in a more Somber but equally vital role.
Yes.
They investigate maritime accidents. If something goes wrong, they're often called in to figure out what happened, and sometimes they have to act as an expert witness in court.
Providing technical testimony.
Exactly. Their findings can be crucial in determining liability and, just as importantly, helping prevent similar accidents in the future.
That is an astonishing level of detail and responsibility. And it seems there isn't just one type of surveyor. Our source mentions different kinds.
That's right. The world of marine surveying is quite diverse, reflecting all the different stakeholders involved in shipping. First, you have government-appointed marine surveyors.
Okay, official inspectors.
Right. Sometimes they're called marine inspectors in certain countries. And within this government group, there are two main types. You have flag state surveyors.
Flag state, meaning?
They report directly to the government of the country where the vessel is registered, the flag it sails under. Their job is to ensure the ship complies with that specific nation's laws and regulations.
Okay, and the second type?
Port state surveyors. These report to the government of the territory, the port, into which the vessel has actually sailed. They check its compliance with the local rules and international regulations while it's visiting that port.
So, flag state checks home country rules, port state checks visiting country rules. Like double-checking compliance.
Essentially, yes. Ensures the ship meets standards both where it's registered and where it operates.
Makes sense. What about the cargo itself? Does someone inspect that specifically?
Yes, that's a different role. That's the cargo surveyor. And this person is usually appointed by the cargo owner, the person whose goods are on the ship.
Okay, representing the owner's interests.
Exactly. Their main job often involves performing a draft survey.
A draft survey. What's that?
It's a very precise method used to determine the actual weight of the cargo loaded onto the ship.
No.
They do it by measuring the ship's displacement in the water before and after loading. It's surprisingly accurate,
Clever.
isn't it? They also confirm that the cargo loading itself is done strictly according to all the legal requirements, and importantly, that it stays within the vessel's safe loadable limits. Preventing dangerous imbalances or overloading is key.
Okay. So, government surveyors check the ship, cargo surveyors check the load. What other types are there?
Yeah.
The source mentions classification societies and independent surveyors.
Right, so the term classification of surveyor can cover a couple of things. One role is being a representative of a classification society.
And what are those?
They're non-governmental organizations, like Lloyd's Register or DNV. They establish and maintain detailed technical standards for how ships and offshore structures should be built and operated. They issue certificates of compliance.
So they set the technical bar.
In many ways, yes. The other role under classification of surveyor can be acting as an inspector on behalf of the country the vessel is registered with, which often overlaps with the flag state surveyor role we mentioned.
I see.
And an important point here. Both government surveyors and these classification surveyors are increasingly involved in confirming compliance with international treaties, things like MARPOL for pollution prevention. It shows how global maritime law is becoming.
And the independent surveyor, how are they different?
An independent surveyor isn't tied to a specific government or classification society. They're like a neutral third party. They might be hired to examine ships, maybe check specific cargoes, or even assess onboard conditions like the quality of the fuel being used.
So they could be hired by anyone with an interest.
Pretty much. Insurers, potential buyers, charterers. They also play a crucial role in investigating accidents at sea, preparing detailed reports for insurance claims. They conduct those draft surveys we talked about, maybe to analyze if cargo was lost or gained during a voyage.
Lost or gained? How could it be gained?
Water absorption in some cargoes, for instance, or sometimes discrepancies in initial measurements. They can also be brought in to determine the condition of a ship before someone charters it or buys it, giving an impartial assessment of its state.
A pre-purchase inspection, essentially.
Exactly. Very important for big investments like ships.
And then there's a specific group just for smaller boats, yachts and things.
Yes, the Yacht and Small Craft Surveyors, or YNSC surveyors. They specialize, as the name suggests, in inspecting smaller vessels, the kind most often used for pleasure, not commercial hauling.
Right, like sailboats, motor yachts.
Exactly those oats. These surveyors might work directly for the big marine insurance companies, but often they're independent practitioners working for themselves.
Is there a professional body for them?
There is. The YDSA. That's the Yacht Designers and Surveyors Association. They provide specific training, including, interestingly, a one-day report writing training course, even for people who aren't members. It highlights how important clear communication and documentation is in their field, too.
So why an SC for yacht and small craft?
Yeah.
YDSA for their association. Got it.
This whole multi-layered system of surveying, government, classification, cargo, independent, specialized, it really ensures safety, structural integrity, operational readiness, and adherence to a whole complex web of regulations.
It's quite a safety net.
It truly is a testament to the industry trying to prevent disasters and ensure reliability. But, okay, once the surveyors give the thumbs up, the ship's deemed fit and compliant.
Huh.
Then comes the actual physical work of moving the cargo, the loading and unloading. And that requires another very specialized group of professionals.
Okay, so from the meticulous inspectors, we move to the heavy lifting, literally. Our source introduces us to stevedores. Now, that word, it does sound a bit old school, doesn't it?
It does have a certain historical ring to it, yeah.
But their job is absolutely critical today, right? These are the folks actually getting their hands dirty, making sure the cargo moves from the dock onto the ship or off the ship onto the dock.
Indeed. The term might feel a bit dated, but the role of stevedores is as vital now as it ever was. Maybe even more so, given the sheer scale of modern container shipping.
So what's the core definition?
Stevedoring simply refers to the act of loading or offloading cargo to and/or from a ship. That's it. It's the physical interface, the crucial link between land transport and sea transport.
The handshake between land and sea. I like that.
And it's work that demands incredible precision, careful planning, and above all, an unwavering focus on safety. If you connect it to the bigger picture, this is the exact point where goods actually change their mode of transport.
Highlighting just how critical their hands-on role is in keeping the whole supply chain moving. Literally, one container at a time.
One container, one heavy lift, one pallet. Absolutely.
So these are the people we see working on the docks, operating those huge cranes, the forklifts.
That's them. The companies that handle this work are known as stevedoring companies. And the workers themselves, interestingly, have different names depending on where you are.
Yeah.
In the UK, these workers are generally known as dockers, whereas in the US, they're commonly called longshoremen.
Dockers in the UK, longshoremen in the US. Good distinction to know. Shows the history, I guess.
It does. It points to the long tradition and local evolution of this absolutely essential profession.
Okay, so what are their main duties? Beyond just, moving stuff around, what are the key responsibilities?
Well, their foremost responsibility, the thing that overrides everything else, is safety. The safety of the cargo they're handling, the safety of the ship's crew working nearby, and their own personal safety.
Looks like dangerous work.
It can be. It's physically demanding, involves heavy machinery, working at heights sometimes. So safety is paramount. These workers are highly skilled operators. They have to be adept at using those enormous cranes, powerful forklifts, and all sorts of other specialized cargo gear.
To move those massive containers and other heavy packages.
Exactly. And it's a job that demands constant availability. Our source points out that every port employs a stevedore who must be available 24 hours a day.
Round the clock. Because ships arrive and depart constantly.
Precisely. Port operations don't stop. Beyond just moving the cargo, they also have a role in inspection. They examine containers as they're handled, looking for any damage, and they have to record any issues they find damage to the container itself or potentially to the cargo inside.
So they're the first line of defense if something got damaged in transit.
They can be, yes. And fundamentally, they must be highly skilled. Skilled in operating the complex equipment, and skilled in the various techniques for loading, packing, securing, and unpacking different types of cargo, making sure everything is stowed safely for the sea journey or carefully removed upon arrival.
So these skilled workers, the dockers or longshoremen, they're the indispensable backbone of port operations, handling the cargo with skill, focus, and always prioritizing safety.
Couldn't run a port without them.
And speaking of the cargo itself, how does it move across these vast distances in a predictable, reliable way? You mentioned schedules earlier. That brings us to the idea of liners, the scheduled services of the sea.
Ah, yes, the liners, the arteries of global trade, you could say.
Right. So when we talk about consistent shipping, the kind that runs on a schedule, like a bus route, but for the ocean, we're usually talking about liners, aren't we?
That's exactly the concept.
These aren't just random ships wandering the seas. They're specifically operating on fixed routes with predictable timings. They bring a sense of order.
That bus or train analogy is really quite good. It captures the essence perfectly. A liner, by definition, is a cargo and sometimes passenger-carrying shipping line that operates a scheduled service between fixed points on a specific trade route.
Scheduled service, fixed points, key characteristics.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, the key benefit here, is the sheer regularity and predictability they bring to international trade. Think about it from a business perspective.
You need to know when your stuff is going to arrive.
Precisely. This predictability is absolutely crucial for companies managing complex global supply chains. It allows them to forecast delivery times accurately, plan their logistics with confidence, maybe hold less inventory because they know replenishment is reliable.
Okay, so reliability and timetables are paramount. What else defines these liner services?
Well, liner shipping is characterized by that service of transporting goods using these high-capacity ocean-going ships that transit regular routes on fixed schedules. Consistency is the name of the game.
And the scale must be huge.
It is. Our source gives us a figure. Approximately 400 liner services are in operation today, globally.
400 distinct routes or services.
Wow. And it says the vast majority of these provide weekly departures from all the ports that they call at on their route.
Weekly service on most major routes. That really illustrates the density of this global network. Goods are constantly moving.
Constantly. It's an immense, interconnected logistical web supporting global trade.
Now, sometimes these liner companies group together, right? They form conferences. What exactly is a liner conference? Or a shipping conference, as it's also called.
Right. A liner conference is essentially an agreement. You could even call it a type of cartel, historically speaking, between two or more shipping companies operating on the same trade route.
An agreement to do what?
The main purpose is to jointly provide that scheduled cargo and sometimes passenger service on that particular route, but critically, operating under uniform freight rates and common terms and conditions.
Ah, so setting prices together.
Historically, yes, they were very powerful entities. The aim was often to stabilize prices, prevent damaging price wars, reduce what they saw as excessive competition, and ensure reliable, regular schedules for the shippers using their services.
Interesting. Cooperation within competition. Are all these conferences the same? Do they operate the same way?
Not at all. There are two main types described in our source: open conferences and closed conferences.
Okay, what's an open conference?
An open conference, basically, has to accept pretty much any shipping line that applies for membership, as long as they meet certain basic operational criteria.
So relatively easy to join.
Relatively, yes. And the key example given is that all conferences operating to and from the United States are required to be open conferences.
Why is that?
It's largely due to U.S. antitrust laws. Historically, the U.S. has mandated this more open system to try and encourage competition and prevent potentially monopolistic behavior by dominant shipping lines on its trade routes.
Makes sense from a competition perspective. So what's the alternative? The closed conference.
Exactly. A closed conference operates very differently. It admits new members strictly at the discretion of the existing members.
So the current members get to decide who else gets in. Much more control.
Much more control. And our source notes that most European-based shipping conferences have historically been closed conferences.
Is there an advantage to that closed system?
Well, from the perspective of the existing member lines, yes. The source points out that a significant advantage of a closed conference is its greater ability to prevent costly over-tonnaging.
Over-tonnaging, meaning too many ships.
Exactly. Too many ships competing on the same route, which creates excess capacity and can drive freight rates down to unprofitable levels for everyone involved. A closed conference can better manage the amount of shipping capacity on a route.
I see. So managing supply to stabilize prices.
That's the idea behind it. These conferences, whether they're open or closed, really highlight how even in a market as competitive as shipping, strategic collaboration or collusion, depending on your viewpoint, can bring a certain level of stability and predictability.
To pricing and service levels.
Which arguably can benefit both the carriers and the shippers who rely on those regular services. But regardless of whether there's a conference or not, the actual price of shipping the freight rate, that's always a huge factor for anyone moving goods.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the big question. What actually goes into determining these complex rates? How are they calculated? Right? Freight rates. Understanding these can feel like, well, like trying to crack some kind of secret code. There just seem to be so many different factors, so many variables involved.
It can definitely seem that way.
But luckily, our source gives us a really brilliant, quote, comprehensive breakdown. It unpacks all the elements that go into that final price tag. It's clearly a real juggling act for the shipping lines.
It is. The shipping freight rate structure is, without a doubt, highly complex, and it's designed that way meticulously to account for this huge number of variables that influence the cost, the risk, the value of the transport service.
It's not just a random number they pick.
Oh, absolutely not. If you connect this to the bigger picture, you realize these rates aren't arbitrary at all. They are a direct reflection of the true costs, the market dynamics, the risks involved in moving goods across the globe.
So they encapsulate everything: fuel, distance, risk.
Everything. Fuel prices, geopolitical stability, the amount of available ship capacity, port efficiency, the type of cargo. It all feeds into this sophisticated economic model, which naturally leads us to ask, what are the core drivers? What are the fundamental elements shaping these rates?
Okay, let's start with the basics, especially in container shipping. Our source mentions different charges based on how much space you use.
That's right. A key distinction in container shipping is between LCL and FCL.
LCL and FCL, what do those stand for?
LCL stands for less than container load. This means your cargo doesn't fill up an entire container by itself. So it gets consolidated, put together with cargo from other shippers, sharing the space and therefore the cost of that container.
Okay, so LCL is for smaller shipments, and FCL.
FCL is full container load. This means you do have enough cargo to fill an entire container yourself. You get exclusive use of that container for your goods.
Got it. LCL for shared, FCL for exclusive. Beyond that, what are the absolute fundamental factors determining the rate?
Well, the rate depends crucially on several core things. The form of the cargo itself, is it liquid, solid, fragile, hazardous? Does it need refrigeration? Then the specific mode of transport being used, we're focusing on ships. But rates differ hugely for trucks, trains, aircraft, obviously the weight of the cargo, and, naturally, the distance to the delivery destination. Longer journeys generally cost more.
Form, mode, weight, distance. The absolute basics.
Those are the foundational pillars, yes.
But our source digs deeper, mentioning several other really significant considerations that carriers use when they're fixing the actual tariff, the price list.
Absolutely. It gets more nuanced. One major factor is overall freight volume. This is used to calculate the price based on the cargo's volume and its weight. We'll come back to how they decide which one to use. But the volume itself is influenced by the cargo type, the mode of transport, the distance, and the specific weight-volume ratio.
Okay, what else?
The competition. This is huge in shipping. Whenever there's a significant amount of cargo available to be moved on a particular route, it naturally attracts lots of carriers wanting a piece of that business.
Supply and demand, basically.
Exactly. And the business policies of those competitors, their strategies to gain market share, all of that inevitably influences the rates. Often, intense competition drives rates down.
Makes sense. What about ship size? Does that play a role?
A massive role. That's the principle of economies of scale. In shipping, this is incredibly important. Larger ships can significantly reduce the cost per unit of transport service per container, for instance.
Cheaper to run one big ship than two small ones, essentially?
Precisely. By using these massive modern vessels, carriers achieve lower unit costs for moving each box. And if the overall market freight rates stay the same, these larger ships can significantly increase the earnings per container, which makes investing billions in these giant ships economically viable.
Okay. And the final big consideration.
Operating costs. Seems obvious, but it's fundamental. Any business, shipping included, needs to make a profit. And profit is simply what's left after you deduct all your operating costs from your income.
And those costs must be huge for a shipping line.
Immense. Crew salaries, vessel maintenance and repairs, insurance, fuel and massive one-port fees, canal transit fees, administrative overhead. It all has to be covered by the freight rate, plus a margin for profit.
Right. So those are the core elements shaping the base rate. But then the surcharges. Anyone who's received a shipping quote knows about these. They often feel like hidden extras just tacked on.
They can feel that way, I understand, but they're not usually arbitrary additions. A surcharge is defined as an additional cost included in the tariff, specifically to cover extra expenses that the carrier becomes liable for, often due to external factors they can't fully control, factors that fluctuate.
Okay, like what? Give us an example.
A very common one is the currency adjustment factor, or CF.
CF, currency adjustment. So exchange rates.
Exactly. Shipping is a global business, deals happen in multiple currencies, but carriers usually have their main operating costs in one base currency, maybe US dollars. If exchange rates shift unfavorably, their costs in their home currency can go up unexpectedly. The CAF is charged as a percentage of the base tariff rate to cover these currency fluctuations, protecting the carrier from losses due simply to changing exchange rates.
Okay, that makes sense. What about fuel? You mentioned it's a huge cost. Is there a surcharge for that?
Oh, yes, a very significant one. These are the bunker surcharges. Bunker is the term for ship fuel.
Right.
These occur for similar reasons as the CAF volatility. They relate specifically to the fluctuating cost of marine fuel. These surcharges are charged on the trade and are known either as the bunker adjustment factor, BAF, or sometimes the fuel adjustment factor, FAF.
BAF or FAF, covering fuel price swings.
Precisely. Both acronyms cover the unpredictable price of bumper fuel, which, as we said, is a major operating expense for any shipping line.
Okay. What if things go wrong at the port itself? Like, say, there are big delays or strikes. Does that trigger a surcharge?
It certainly can. Carriers can face additional costs due to port congestion or strikes. If a port gets heavily congested, or there's a labor strike, or maybe some other nautical calamity, or even just plain inefficiency means ships can't be handled within their scheduled time limits.
The ship is just stuck there, burning money.
Exactly. Idle ship time is incredibly expensive. Rerouting costs money. So these surcharges help cover those unexpected delay-related costs. This category can also include things like a peak season surcharge levied when demand is extremely high, like before major holidays, and port capacity is stretched thin. Or a winter surcharge, sometimes applied on certain routes to cover the added difficulties and potential delays caused by bad weather in colder months.
Okay. What about the cargo itself? Can its nature add costs?
Definitely. The nature of the cargo can incur extra charges. Think about valuable cargo needing extra security, or dangerous goods requiring special handling and segregation, or heavy lift items needing specialized cranes, or overdimensional cargo that takes up more space or is awkward to handle. All of these often attract additional charges.
Right. And there's something called a commodity-based tariff.
Yes, sometimes tariffs are commodity-based. This approach is often based on the principle of what the traffic will stand.
Meaning charge what the market will bear for that specific item.
Kind of. It means the pricing can be influenced by the perceived value of the commodity, the specific demand for it, or unique handling requirements associated with that commodity, rather than just its weight or volume. High-value goods might command a higher rate than low-value bulk goods, even if they weigh the same.
Interesting. Now, I've also heard people talk about GRIs. What is a GRI? What causes it?
GRI stands for General Rate Increase. This is usually a broader adjustment to freight rates across a whole trade lane, maybe Asia to Europe, for instance. It's typically triggered by increased overall demand on that route.
So when shipping gets busy, prices go up.
That's the main driver, yes. But a GRI can also be influenced by other factors: rising fuel costs across the board, significant changes in available shipping capacity. If ships are removed, capacity tightens, prices rise, increases in general operational costs, new environmental or security regulations adding expense, or just the fundamental interplay of supply and demand for ocean shipping services on that route.
And carriers usually announce these in advance.
Yes, typically GRIs are announced several weeks in advance to give shippers time to adjust their budgets and planning.
Okay. It sounds like with all these costs, carriers must have a bottom line, a minimum price they just can't go below. Is that where MRA comes in?
Exactly right. MRA stands for minimum rate acceptable. This is essentially the floor price, the lowest rate that a carrier is willing to accept for a shipment between two specific ports.
Based on all those costs we talked about.
Based on all the factors affecting freight rates, their operating costs, market conditions, desired profit margin, this MRA figure is communicated internally to the carrier's agents around the world. And those agents generally cannot quote or charge a rate lower than the MRA without getting specific approval from headquarters.
So it maintains a basic level of profitability.
That's the goal. It helps maintain some profitability, prevents completely destructive price wars where rates fall below costs, and contributes to overall market stability, at least from the carrier's perspective.
Wow. That's a huge amount of detail just on the surcharges. Okay, to try and bring it together, are there any simple overarching principles for freight rates that our source emphasizes? Kind of a quick recap.
Yes, it does reiterate some essential principles that consistently influence the final rate.
Okay.
Firstly, destination. Simple enough, the longer the journey, generally the higher the ocean shipping rate. More distance means more fuel, more time, more crew costs.
Makes sense.
Secondly, service charges. Specific extra services like enhanced security measures, documentation fees, etc., will directly affect the final freight rate. Thirdly, seasons. Some goods, like fresh produce or seasonal merchandise for holidays, are transported mainly during particular seasons. This concentrated demand and sometimes special handling needs, like refrigeration, often leads to higher cargo rates during those peak times.
Right, supply and demand again.
Fourthly, currency. We mentioned CAF, but broader fluctuations in exchange rates between the shippers, consignees, and carriers' currencies will influence the final freight rate calculation, especially in international deals. Fifth, fines and fees. If delays occur, perhaps due to incorrect paperwork from the shipper or other issues causing the ship to miss deadlines, fines or penalties can be incurred, and these ultimately get factored into transportation costs. Sixth, terminal fees. These are the charges levied by the ports at both ends of the journey, the embarkation port and the destination port. They cover the use of cranes, storage space, labor, and general port infrastructure. They're a significant part of the overall cost. And finally, bunker capacity, or rather bunker cost. Even if containers are filled to their optimum capacity, increases in the cost of fuel, bunker fuel, will significantly affect the charges simply because these massive ships consume enormous quantities of it.
That's a great summary of the core drivers. Now, shifting specifically to sea freight, the source offers some unique insights there too. What are the key things to know about sea freight pricing?
Right. For sea freight, it's typically the mode of choice for transporting comparatively low-value cargo where speed of delivery isn't the absolute top priority. Why? Because it's generally the most economical option for moving large volumes or heavy items over long distances.
Slower but cheaper.
That's the trade-off, usually. Now, how are the rates quoted? Generally, on a basis of weight or measurement, crucially, at the ship's option.
At the ship's option, what does that mean?
It means the carrier will calculate the freight cost based on both the actual weight of the cargo and its volume, how much space it takes up, and then charge based on whichever calculation yields the greater revenue for them.
Oh, so they charge based on whichever is bigger in shipping terms.
Exactly. There's a common rule of thumb here based on the density of the cargo. Our source states, cargo measuring under 40 cubic feet per ton of weight is typically charged on its weight basis. However, cargo measuring more than 40 cubic feet per ton, meaning it's relatively light for its size, bulky is charged on a volume measurement basis.
40 cubic feet per ton. That's the magic threshold.
That's the traditional threshold, yes. It reflects the point where space becomes more valuable to the carrier than weight capacity. And of course, with the global adoption of the metric system, many freight rates are now quoted per 1,000 kilograms, which is 1 metric ton, or per cubic meter. The principle remains the same charge based on weight or volume, whichever earns more.
Okay. And finally, within sea freight, our source breaks down several distinct types of freight rates. Can you walk us through those? Seems like freight isn't just one thing.
It certainly isn't. There are different ways freight charges can be structured or applied. The source details 6 specific types.
Okay, number 1.
1. Advance freight. As the name suggests, this is freight that is payable in advance before the goods are actually delivered to the consignee. It's quite common in the liner cargo trade, those scheduled services, and also in tramping.
Tramping.
Tramping refers to ships that don't operate on a fixed schedule or route. They just go wherever the cargo is, tramping from port to port. Advance freight provides the carrier with some upfront cash flow.
Okay, number 2.
2. Lump sum freight. This is a single fixed sum payable for the use of the whole ship or a specific defined portion of it, regardless of how much cargo is actually loaded. It's calculated based on the actual cubic capacity of the ship or space offered, not on the specific weight or volume of the goods put inside.
So you pay for the space, use it or not.
Essentially, yes. Common in chartering agreements. Number 3.
3.
Dead freight. This is basically a charge or a penalty. It's levied against a shipper or charterer when they fail to provide the full amount of cargo they agreed to ship. They booked space, didn't fill it, but the carrier still allocated that space and potentially turned away other cargo. Dead freight compensates the carrier for the revenue lost on that unused space.
So a penalty for not shipping enough. Got it. Number 4.
4. Back freight. This situation arises when goods have been sent to a destination port, but upon arrival, they are refused. Maybe the cargo is damaged, maybe the importer can't pay, maybe the paperwork is wrong. The freight cost charged for transporting those goods back to their origin or to an alternative port is known as back freight.
Okay, the cost of bringing rejected goods back.
5. Pro rata freight. This isn't a charge for a specific event, but rather a method of calculation. It refers to the proportional distribution of freight costs, perhaps based on a percentage or a ratio. It might be used if a voyage is interrupted partway and freight is only charged for the portion completed, or to allocate costs across different types of cargo within a single shipment based on their characteristics. It describes the proportional value of a part relative to the whole.
So sharing out the cost proportionally. And number 6.
6. Ad valorem freight. Ad valorem is Latin, meaning according to value. So this is a shipping charge that is calculated as a percentage of the declared value of the goods being shipped.
So the more valuable the cargo, the higher the freight cost.
Potentially, yes. This type of freight rate is often applied to high-value goods, maybe precious metals, electronics, artwork. The reasoning is that the carrier bears a higher risk and potential liability if valuable cargo is lost or damaged, so the freight rate reflects that increased risk and the likely higher insurance costs involved.
Dead freight for unused space. Ad valorem for valuable goods. Lots of specific terms there.
Absolutely. Knowing these helps understand the nuances of shipping contracts and costs.
That was an incredibly detailed dive into the economics of shipping. It's crystal clear now that every single factor, from the fuel price on a given day to currency exchange rates, the type of cargo, the distance, competition, even port efficiency, it all plays a crucial role in that final freight rate. It truly is a dynamic, complex system.
Constantly adjusting.
Okay, let's shift our focus now. We've talked about the intermediaries, the surveyors, the dock workers, the liner services, the costs. Let's talk about the physical places where all this happens, especially the crucial hubs that aren't even on the coast and the inland facilities. Right, so when most of us think of ports, we picture ships, cranes, containers stacked high, all right there on the coast by the sea.
That's the classic image, yes.
But our source introduces a really interesting concept: dry ports. Specifically, things called ICDs and CFSs. These sound like they're vital parts of the network, but they're often located far away from the actual ocean,
That's exactly right. They essentially extend the reach of the seaport inland.
bringing the port closer to the businesses, maybe?
Precisely. Let's start with ICDs. That stands for Inland Container Depot. And they are, just as you said, dry ports. They are specialized facilities, fully equipped for handling and, importantly, temporarily storing containerized cargo, both full and empty containers.
Okay, an inland hub for containers. How does that fit the bigger picture?
Well, if you connect it up, ICDs fundamentally extend the reach of the traditional coastal seaports much, much deeper into the country's interior, the hinterland. This dramatically enhances overall logistical efficiency
How so?
by bringing port-like services closer to where goods are actually produced or consumed. This can significantly reduce the cost and time involved in trucking containers to and from the coast. And, crucially, ICDs help to decongest the busy coastal ports by allowing some processes, like customs clearance, to happen inland, taking pressure off the main maritime gateways.
That makes a lot of sense. Spreading the load. So what specific services do these ICDs offer? It sounds like more than just container storage.
Oh, much more. They are true multifunctional logistics hubs. Their core services include handling containers arriving by road or rail, managing the receipt and onward delivery of both full containers and sometimes general non-containerized cargo too.
Can they handle smaller shipments as well? Like the LCL we talked about.
Yes. Importantly, they may receive cargo that's come from a container freight station, CFS. We'll get to those. And they can definitely handle less than container LCL cargo directly. This means they can consolidate smaller export shipments into full containers or break down imported containers for local distribution.
Okay. What else happens there?
They obviously serve as depots for storing empty containers, which is vital for managing the flow and availability of containers globally. But they often offer other value-added services too. Things like container cleaning services, essential maintenance, and even pre-trip trials for reefer containers.
Reefer containers, the refrigerated ones. What's a pre-trip trial?
Exactly, the refrigerated ones. A pre-trip trial, or PTI, is where they run the refrigeration unit on an empty reefer container for a set period to ensure it's functioning perfectly, maintaining the required temperature before it gets loaded with sensitive cargo like food or pharmaceuticals.
Quality control for the cold chain.
Precisely. And a really significant benefit, as mentioned, is that customs clearance activities can be performed at these inland terminals. This really helps to decrease the dwell time, the time containers sit waiting in the busy deep sea ports, speeding up the entire supply chain.
So you can clear customs inland before the container even gets near the sea for export.
You can. And ICDs can also become centers for physical distribution services that can be done more economically there, close to the source or market. Examples given include things like garments being ironed and packed, price tags being put on consumer goods, bulk liquids being bottled, or even having refrigeration plants right there at the ICD to prepare meat, fish, or vegetables specifically for export markets.
Wow, so they're almost like mini industrial parks combined with a port facility.
In some cases, yes. They become integrated logistics platforms.
ICD stands for Inland Container Depot, and they offer a huge range of services. Now, our source even goes into the specific procedures for getting goods cleared through these ICDs. Let's start with exporting something from an ICD. How does that work? It sounds complicated.
It is detailed, but it's a structured process designed for security and compliance. Here's how the export clearance process at ICDs typically unfolds, according to the source.
Okay, step one.
1. Presentation of shipping bills. The exporter wanting to ship goods out has to file seven copies of the shipping bill document at the ICD. Critically, this document must clearly state the intended port of exit, the actual seaport the container will leave from, and the unique serial number of the container being used. The shipping bill contains all the key details: description of the goods, their customs classification card, the port of exit name, any identification marks on the packages, the number of containers, total weight, and the value of the goods.
7 copies. Okay, what happens next?
2. Scrutiny of shipping bills. These bills are usually placed in a designated noting box at the ICD. A receiving clerk then collects them, carefully scrutinizes each one for completeness and accuracy, and assigns a running serial number for tracking. If there are any problems or missing information, the bill is returned to the exporter for correction and resubmission. Accuracy is key.
Right. Get it right the first time. Step 3.
3. Classification and assessment. The ICD usually has a central registration unit staffed by customs personnel. They complete the official classification of the goods and assess any applicable duties or taxes, even if it's for export. The original copy of the shipping bill is retained by customs at the ICD. The balance 6 copies are returned to the exporter or their agent.
Okay, then what?
4. GR formalities, guaranteed remittance. This step relates to foreign exchange control, particularly important in some countries like India, where the source likely originates. The full export value declared must be verified on a specific GR form. This ensures the country eventually receives the foreign currency payment for the goods being exported.
A financial control check. Step 5.
5. Examination of goods. A customs inspector or examiner at the ICD then conducts a physical examination of the goods inside the container or before they're loaded. They check that the goods match the description on the shipping bill and ensure there are no prohibited items or violations of any restrictions under various acts, rates, and regulations. They might not inspect every container. Often it's risk-based.
Okay, physical check. Step 6.
6. Transit to gateway port of exit. Once customs is satisfied, 2 specific copies of the shipping bill, known as transferee copies, are sealed securely inside an envelope. This envelope is then entrusted to the custody of the transport provider, usually the railways or trucking company, responsible for moving the container from the ICD to the actual seaport, the gateway port or port of exit. They are responsible for presenting the sealed envelope to the customs officer at that seaport.
So the paperwork travels securely with the container. Step 7.
7. Procedure at exit port. When the container arrives at the seaport, the customs procedure is usually expedited. The sealed containers are generally allowed for export under preventive supervision, meaning customs oversees the loading onto the ship after they verify that the customs seal placed at the ICD is intact. If the seal appears to have been tampered with, then a full re-examination of the container's contents may be conducted right there at the port. Assuming the seal is good, the preventive officer at the port endorses those 2 transferee copies of the shipping bills, confirming the container arrived intact, the customs seal was intact, and they add their dated signature.
Final check at the seaport. And the last step.
Endorsement of shipment. Finally, after the ship sails, 1 specific copy of the shipping bill, known as the Quick Drawback Payment Section copy, is endorsed from the gateway port. This copy is crucial for the exporter because it's what they use to claim duty drawback, a refund of any import duties they might have paid on materials used to produce the exported goods. And our source notes this copy is specifically valid for a period of 90 days from the date of shipment.
90 days. Okay, that's a key detail for exporters. What an incredibly detailed process for exports, making sure everything is documented, sealed, checked, and double-checked.
It has to be for international trade. Security, revenue collection, compliance, it all relies on these procedures.
Absolutely. Now, what about the other way around? Importing goods that arrive at an ICD. Is the clearance procedure similar?
It's also a structured process designed to bring customs clearance inland efficiently. The clearance procedure for imports at the ICD works like this. When the containers arrive at the ICD, usually by rail or road from the seaport, The carrier presents that sealed cover containing the import documentation, which likely traveled with it from the port, to the customs officer stationed at the ICD.
Got it.
The process of de-stuffing the container, unloading the goods, is then carried out crucially in the presence of the customs officer. This ensures nothing is removed improperly before customs formalities are complete.
So customs watches the unloading. Then what?
The final clearance of the goods, allowing them to enter the domestic market, clearance for home consumption, is granted based on bills of entry, BE. These are the key import declaration documents, and they are filed by the importer or their agent directly at the ICD. Once duties are paid and customs is satisfied, the goods are released from the ICD for delivery to the importer.
Bill of entry, or BE. That's the key document for imports at the ICD. Got it. It's clear these ICDs play a really sophisticated role in modern logistics. What are some of the strategic points to consider when developing them? And what's their overall role in, say, economic development?
Good questions. For an ICD to be truly successful and beneficial, several factors are critical. Firstly, the reduction in the total transport costs for shippers using it is a prime criterion. It has to offer real savings compared to trucking everything from the coast.
Makes sense. It has to be economically attractive.
Exactly. Which leads to the second point. There needs to be a sound economic justification for building one. This should be backed up by carefully evaluated traffic forecasts. Is there actually enough potential cargo flow to support it? Thirdly, it's crucial that prior discussions are held with all the stakeholders: exporters, importers, shipping lines who might use it, freight forwarders, the port authorities at the coast. Everyone needs to be consulted to ensure the facility meets real needs and integrates well.
Collaboration is key.
Fourthly, the facility must be economically viable for its own management to operate, but also attractive to its users in terms of service levels and cost. And finally, an interesting point. In regions with rapidly growing international trade, sometimes the infrastructure facility might have to precede the actual generation of demand. You build it slightly ahead of the curve to facilitate and encourage that future trade growth.
Build it and they will come, if the conditions are...
Something like that, yes, if the potential is clearly there.
And what about their broader impact? How do ICDs contribute to international logistics and maybe even a country's economic development? They sound like more than just storage depots.
Oh, much more. Their role is multifaceted and really significant. They fulfill the distinct requirements of modern intermodal container and cargo transport, providing that seamless link between ships, trains, and trucks. They directly satisfy the shipper's growing demand for a door-to-door service, making the whole logistics chain simpler and more integrated.
Right, taking complexity away from the shipper.
They can also significantly assist in the reduction of overall transit cargo cost, especially to landlocked neighboring countries. By offering a customs clearance point much closer to the border, they can cut down on long, expensive road transport legs through transit countries.
That's a huge geopolitical advantage.
It can be. They also encourage marginal or smaller exporters and importers, particularly those dealing with LCL cargo, by offering potentially cheaper rates through consolidation services close to home. And ICDs are central to the concept of supply chain terminalization.
Supply chain terminalization. What's that?
It refers to the increasing trend where terminals, like ICDs, play a much more active and strategic role within companies' overall supply chain strategies. They become more than just transit points. Companies might use the ICD for final assembly, quality checks, specialized packaging, labeling for specific markets, essentially integrating the terminal's capabilities directly into their production and distribution plans.
So the terminal becomes a strategic node in their business.
Exactly. And ultimately, ICDs significantly enhance the hinterland accessibility and connectivity of the main seaports, extending their economic reach and impact deep into a country's interior, stimulating trade and development far from the coast.
Okay, so those are the ICDs, the major inland triports. But the source also mentions CFSs, container freight stations. What's the difference there? What's their specific purpose?
Right, the CFS, or container freight station. While related, they serve a more specific function. A CFS is typically a location, often a warehouse complex, where products and other goods are collected, stored temporarily, and importantly, consolidated or deconsolidated.
Consolidated meaning putting small shipments together.
Precisely. Their primary purpose, and this is a key differentiator from a larger ICD, is dealing with LCO, less than container load shipments. An LCL export shipment will typically be taken to a CFS at the origin point. There, it gets consolidated, packed together into a container with cargo from other shippers going to the same general destination.
Filling up the box efficiently.
Exactly. And conversely, at the destination end, a full import container containing multiple LCL shipments can be taken to a CFS to be de-stuffed or deconsolidated. The individual LCL shipments are then sorted and made available for pickup by the different importers.
So CFS is mainly about handling those LCL shipments, consolidating and deconsolidating. ICDs might do that too, but have a broader range of functions like customs clearance and empty container storage.
That's a good way to summarize the general distinction, yes. ICDs are often larger, offer customs facilities, and act more like full dry ports. CFSs are typically focused specifically on the consolidation-deconsolidation aspect, especially for LCL. Our source also gives a specific regulatory example. In India, the location of both ICDs and CFSs is regulated by the Ministry of Commerce of the Government of India. Their policy encourages liberalization and competition, but also aims to discourage an overconcentration of these facilities in just one or two regions, promoting more balanced development across the country.
Interesting, ensuring equitable access to these vital facilities.
ICDs and CFSs, then, are absolutely vital nodes in the global logistics network. They boost efficiency, cut costs, reduce congestion, and extend the reach of seaborne trade far inland. But the real unsung hero, the absolute backbone of this entire modern system, the invention that made all this possible on such a massive scale, that's the box itself, the standardized shipping container.
Okay, the humble shipping container. That simple corrugated metal box we see everywhere, on ships, on trains, on trucks. It seems so basic, but it actually sparked nothing short of a revolution in logistics.
It really did. It's hard to overstate its impact.
It's almost impossible to imagine global trade without it now. Our source lays out exactly why containerization, the system built around this box, is such a massive game changer, how it utterly transformed the shipping industry.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how a seemingly simple concept standardization could have such profound effects, transforming an entire global industry and accelerating international commerce to levels that were simply unimaginable before.
So what is containerization, fundamentally?
Containerization is defined as a logistics technique that involves using standardized containers to transport and store goods. That's the core idea. But if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's not just a technique, it's the system that underpins the efficiency, the speed, the security, and the interconnectedness of modern global trade. It makes it possible to move vast quantities of incredibly diverse goods seamlessly across different modes of transport all over the world.
Standardization is the key word there. What does that mean in practice? And what are the standard sizes we usually see?
Standardization here means creating a global system of intermodal freight transport. Intermodal, meaning it can switch between different modes like ship, rail, truck, using these standardized intermodal containers. They're also called shipping containers, or, very importantly, ISO containers.
ISO, what does that stand for?
ISO stands for the International Organization for Standardization. They are the body that developed and maintains the universally accepted standards for container dimensions, strength, fittings, corner castings, everything that allows them to be handled by the same equipment anywhere in the world.
So every container fits the same cranes, the same truck chassis.
Exactly. This system involves putting multiple shipments, often from different shippers, into a single container for transport. And the most common standard lengths you'll see are 20 feet and 40 feet long. Each container also has a unique identification number, like a license plate and a size type code, which allows for precise tracking and management throughout its entire journey.
That standardization must unlock a whole host of benefits. What are the main advantages of using containers that our source points out? It must be more than just being able to stack them neatly.
Oh, the advantages are profound and really touch every aspect of logistics. Let's break them down.
Okay.
Firstly, standardization itself. As we said, it created a standard transport product that can be handled anywhere in the world using specialized, standardized equipment ships designed to carry them, cranes to lift them, trucks and trains fitted to move them. This creates a seamless global network.
Interoperability.
Precisely. Secondly, flexibility. Containers aren't just for one type of product. They can be used to transport an incredibly wide range of goods. Manufactured items, bulk commodities like grain using special liners, cars, and, as we'll see, highly sensitive refrigerated goods.
So very versatile.
Thirdly, costs. Huge cost reductions came with containerization. Why? Because standardization leads to massively streamlined handling processes. Loading and unloading ships went from taking days or weeks with loose cargo to mere hours with containers. This optimization reduces labor costs, ship time in port, which is very expensive, and overall transit times.
Faster turnaround, lower costs.
Fourthly, velocity. Container shipping networks today are incredibly well connected, offering frequent services and a wide range of shipping options between major ports worldwide. Plus, the specialized container ships themselves are generally faster than the older breakbulk cargo ships they replaced, further speeding up delivery times.
Okay. What else?
Fifth, warehousing. This is a clever one. The container itself acts as its own secure, mobile warehouse, protecting the cargo inside from weather, damage, and theft during transit. This also means that the packaging requirements for the goods inside the container can often be simpler and less expensive. The robust steel box provides the main layer of protection, reducing the need for elaborate, heavy individual packaging for each item.
Less packaging waste, too, potentially.
Potentially, yes. And finally, a crucial advantage is enhanced security and safety. Because the container is typically sealed at the origin by the shipper and only opened at the final destination by the buyer or consignee, the actual contents are generally unknown to the intermediate carriers and handlers. This significantly reduces opportunities for theft and tampering during the journey.
That's a really powerful list of benefits. Standardization, flexibility, cost, speed, warehousing, security.
Yeah.
It really explains the revolution. But you mentioned different types of goods, so not all containers are just the standard dry box, are they?
Not at all. The basic box is just the start. The source provides a deep dive into 14 different common types of containers. It's actually fascinating how much innovation and specialization goes into designing these boxes to meet every conceivable shipping need.
14 types. Okay, let's run through them. What's the first most common type?
1. Your standard 10, 20, and 40 dry storage container. These are the workhorses, the ones you see most often, used for shipping pretty much any type of dry goods that don't require temperature control. Think electronics, clothing, furniture, packaged foods. Their typical payload capacity ranges roughly from 10 to 20 tons, depending on the size and construction.
Okay, the standard box. What's number 2?
2. Flat rack container. These are interesting. They basically consist of a strong, flat base with fixed or collapsible end walls, but no sidewalls and no roof.
So open sides and top. What are they for?
They are especially suitable for carrying heavy loads or cargo that is oversized or awkwardly shaped and needs to be loaded from the top or the sides. Things like large machinery, pipes, vehicles, timber. They come in collapsible and non-collapsible versions, offering great flexibility.
Right. Load and bulky stuff. Number 3.
3. Open top container. Similar idea, but slightly different construction. These have the normal sides and doors, but the roof is open and covered by a removable tarpaulin instead of being solid steel.
Again, for loading from above.
Exactly. It enables oversized cargo, like tall machinery, timber, or scrap metal, to be easily loaded from the top using a crane. They usually still have end doors too, which adds flexibility for unloading.
Okay, number 4.
4. Tunnel container. These are designed with doors on both ends of the container.
Doors at both ends. What?
The main advantage is it makes them incredibly easy to load and unload from either side, especially useful for certain types of cargo or in specific logistics setups, like driving vehicles straight through. They're versatile, durable, often used for storing and transporting dry goods, where that quick dual access is a benefit.
Interesting design. Number 5.
5. Open-side storage container. This is another variation focused on access. It has the regular lockable double doors on one short end, but also features an additional pair of bifold doors along one of the longer sides.
Bifold doors on the side.
Yes, and the bifold function means the side can be opened partially or fully, allowing for 2 different opening sizes. This provides much greater access for loading or unloading bulky items, maybe pallets, directly from the side with a forklift.
Very clever for access. 6.
6. Insulated and thermal container. These are specialized containers designed to maintain a controlled internal temperature, but usually without their own active refrigeration unit like a reefer. They rely on insulation.
So keeping things warm or cool, but passively.
Exactly. They protect goods from extreme environmental temperature swings during transport. Useful for things sensitive to heat or cold, but perhaps not needing precise refrigeration, certain foods, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, sensitive electronics.
Okay. Number 7.
7. Tanks. Also known as tank containers or ISO tanks. These are essentially a tank structure built within a standard ISO container frame.
For liquids and gases.
Precisely. They are built to strict ISO standards specifically to transport and store liquids, gases, and even powders in bulk safely and efficiently. They can handle both hazardous and non-hazardous products, from chemicals and fuels to food-grade liquids like oils or juices.
ISO tanks for bulk liquids, gases. Got it.
8. Double door container. Similar to the tunnel container, these feature two sets of doors, one at each end. Again, the main advantage is easier loading and unloading of cargo, especially long items, or allowing sequential loading-unloading. They're typically made of sturdy steel and iron and come in the standard 20-foot and 40-foot sizes.
Okay, another dual access option. Number 9.
9. Refrigerated ISO container. Now, these do have their own active refrigeration unit. They're commonly known as reefer containers.
Reefers. Heard that term?
Yeah.
For keeping things cold.
Or frozen, or even precisely temperature controlled within a specific range. They require a power supply during shipping, from the ship, port, or a generator. Their primary use is for shipping highly perishable substances like fresh fruits, vegetables, meat, seafood, dairy products, and certain medicines over vast distances, maintaining the cold chain.
Essential for global food trade. Okay, 10.
10. Special purpose containers. This is more of a catch-all category. It refers to containers that have different non-standard shapes and sizes, often custom-made to carry very specific types of cargo that simply won't fit or work in any standard container type. Think maybe specialized military equipment or unique industrial components.
Custom boxes for custom jobs. 11.
11. Swap bodies. These are interesting. They're standardized, interchangeable freight containers, but they're designed slightly differently from standard ISO containers, primarily for efficient multimodal transportation within Europe.
Swap bodies.
Yeah.
Common in Europe. What's their key advantage?
Their key advantage is that they are engineered for very easy and quick transfer between different modes, especially between trucks and trains, often without needing heavy lifting equipment like cranes. They usually have legs underneath. They optimize road rail intermodal transport.
Optimized for European road rail. Got it. 12.
12. Half-height container. As the name suggests, these are significantly shorter, about half the height of a standard container.
Why would you want a shorter container?
They are specifically designed for transporting very heavy, dense bulk goods like coal, sand, gravel, or metal ores. The lower height makes loading and unloading these heavy materials easier, and it keeps the center of gravity low for stability. They can also be used for things like vehicle transportation sometimes, or as a sturdy cargo platform for local transport.
Heavy, dense stuff. Makes sense. 13.
13. Car carriers. These are specialized containers designed specifically for the safe and secure transportation of cars. They often have internal racking systems to maximize the number of vehicles carried and prevent damage during transit. Sometimes they're also used for other special goods requiring secure transport, like weapons.
Purpose-built for cars. And finally, 14.
14. Drums. While not a container in the ISO box sense, drums are included here as they are standardized cylindrical shipping containers, typically made of steel, plastic, or fiber. They are very commonly used for transporting liquids and granular materials, from industrial chemicals and oils to food ingredients.
All right. Cylindrical containers for liquid spouters. That is an incredible array of container types. Dry boxes, flat racks, open tops, tanks, reefers, half-heights, each one perfectly designed for its specific cargo and purpose. It really shows the ingenuity and adaptability within the shipping industry.
It really does. A solution for almost everything that needs moving.
And all these containers, carrying every imaginable type of good, eventually have to pass through the major shipping hubs, the giant ports around the world. Let's bring this all together now by looking at one significant real-world example to see how these systems operate at an immense scale. Okay, so to ground all this theory in detail in a concrete example, our source highlights one specific, very busy port in a globally vital trading nation, Nahava Shiva Port.
Major hub.
Looking at a port like this really helps illustrate the sheer scale and the operational efficiency that's required to keep global trade flowing. It's a real economic artery.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is seeing how a single strategically positioned port can exemplify the massive scale, the complexity, and the undeniable importance of the entire shipping industry for a country's economy. Nahava Sheva Port, which is also known by its official name, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, JNPT.
JNPT, got it.
It serves as a critical gateway. Its daily operations are a living demonstration of all the systems, the intermediaries, the container types, the logistics we've been discussing.
Okay, so JNPT, also known as Navasheva, where is it located and what makes it so significant?
Right, the full name is Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, often just called JMTT, and its significance.
Yeah.
It is unequivocally one of the busiest container ports in India.
In India, okay.
Its location is key. It's situated on the west coast of India, near Mumbai. This strategic position makes it a crucial hub for trade connecting India with Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. It serves a vast and rapidly growing industrial and agricultural hinterland across India.
So a vital engine for India's international trade.
Absolutely, a critical piece of national infrastructure.
And when we say busiest, can we put a number on that? What kind of volume are we talking about? It must be huge.
It is indeed quite staggering. The source states that Nova Sheva Port handles an annual traffic volume of 5.05 million TEU.
5.05 million. TEU. Remind us what TEU stands for.
TEU stands for 20-foot equivalent unit. It's the standard measurement for container cargo volume in the shipping industry. One TEU represents the volume of one standard 20-foot long shipping container. So, 5.05 million TEU means the port handles the equivalent of over 5 million 20-foot containers passing through it each year, or 2.5 million 40-foot containers, roughly.
Over 5 million 20-foot boxes a year. That is just a mind-boggling volume.
It is, and that figure firmly places JNPT in the ranks of the world's top ports. It's a clear indicator of its global significance in facilitating international trade flows, connecting India's massive economy to the rest of the world.
5.05 million TEU annually at JNPT. When you think about each one of those TEUs being a physical container, packed with goods, electronics, textiles, machinery, auto parts, agricultural products, raw materials moving in and out, it really drives home the incredible volume these major global ports handle, the sheer scale of global trade that underpins, well, pretty much everything we consume and use every day.
It's the physical manifestation of globalization, right there on the docks. Hashtag outro.
So after that deep dive, what does this all really mean for us? Whether we're consumers waiting for a package, businesses managing supply chains, or just, curious about how the world works.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. We've journeyed through this incredibly complex world of shipping. We started with those crucial intermediaries, the customs house agents, CHAs, the freight brokers, the people managing the paperwork, navigating regulations, matching cargo to carriers.
Then we looked at the watchful eyes of the surveyors, flag state, port state, cargo, independent, all ensuring every vessel is safe, compliant, fit to sail.
We saw the sheer power and skill of the stevedores, the dockers, and longshoremen doing the heavy lifting at the ports. We understood the regularity and importance of liner services and the complex dynamics of liner conferences.
And dove deep into the intricate dance of freight rates, LCL versus FCL, the base costs, the myriad surcharges like CAF and BAF, right down to the 6 types of sea freight like dead freight and ad valorem freight.
Then we explored the revolutionary efficiency of containerization itself, the power of that standard ISO box, and the incredible variety of specialized containers, all 14 types. We understood the vital role of inland hubs, the ICDs and CFSs, extending the port's reach.
And finally, we saw it all come together at a massive scale with the example of India's JNPT handling over 5 million TEU a year.
Phew. Okay, connecting that all to the bigger picture.
Well, I think it becomes crystal clear that global trade isn't just about ships sailing from A to B. It's this incredibly orchestrated symphony. It involves highly specialized roles, meticulous procedures honed over decades, constant technological innovation, all working together, mostly unseen, to deliver goods reliably and efficiently across immense distances.
Every detail matters.
Every single detail, from understanding the specific roles, like who a flag state surveyor reports to, or knowing that 90-day validity for a quick drawback shipping bill copy, it all contributes to making this massive global system function. Critical thinking is so essential in today's world, overloaded as we are with information. And today, hopefully, you've gained some real insight into the critical infrastructure that literally connects economies and facilitates the global exchange of goods we all depend on.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. The next time you see a shipping container, maybe it's on a truck driving past you on the motorway, maybe you see a train loaded with them, or maybe you just see one in a picture or a documentary, take a second. Consider that invisible army we've talked about. The intermediaries juggling paperwork, the inspectors ensuring safety, the dock workers handling it, the logistics experts planning its route, the economists setting its price. All the people who orchestrated that simple box's journey, potentially halfway around the world. What surprising connections can you now draw between that seemingly simple metal box and the vast, complex, interconnected global economy it truly represents?